Hello, welcome to RajaReads. I'm Masood Raja, and on this channel I introduce you to books from different parts of the world, and sometimes I also talk about reading strategies and about academic and scholarly books. Today I'm going to change the subject a little bit and talk about science fiction, and the book that I have chosen, and I highly recommend it. I mean, anyone who is interested in science fiction should read this book, and that is William Gibson's Neuromancer. Okay. This book came out in 1984, long before the internet was there, or the world of technology that we know existed, and it anticipates that, right? The cybersphere, that's what is mentioned here for the first time in this book. Sadly, it has never been made into a movie. One company in UK, I think, bought the rights, but they never did anything with it. And when Matrix came out, Gibson basically said, okay, the movie is already made. So the main character of the movie is Chase, and he is a cyber ninja. He's one of those hackers that everyone talks about, right? And he can hack any computer system. We are in the world of the future, where the world is divided between those who have adapted to technology, made it part of their selves, and those who are just meat. Most people live the life of the mind. Experience is no longer just material. Actually, most of the experience is virtual. And the way people interact with technology and become a part of it is through electrodes or trodes that they put on their heads and then directly connect with the computer. Sort of like early explanation of cybernetics. So we are in this future world. The premise is that Chase is hired by a person for a mission off planet in this autonomous kind of zone, which is like an autonomous large space station area. And he has to go and retrieve a piece of code from this kind of fortress-like home, which belongs to the most powerful dynasty in the world. These are very rich people, right? And they've lived multiple lives. They reincarnate themselves. So that's his mission. And of course, he's flown there. He goes up there. There are different characters that he meets there. The whole experience of the spindle, it is called, is an altogether otherworldly experience, right? And remember, this was written in 1984. And eventually, he, along with a few of his colleagues, breaks into the system, right? And comes face to face with what he is seeking. Now, the interesting part of the story is that he is hired by an artificial intelligence, right? And we learned that there are two aspects to this intelligence. There is one that has hired him, that's reason, right? And there is the other one, Neuromancer, who is love, right? And the purpose of this AI is to somehow unite the two elements, right? That's why the AI has hired him. And we learn about this artificial intelligence, who created it, how does it survive, how does it control things. So I don't want to kind of, just spoil the whole story for you if you haven't read the novel, right? But it is action-packed, and just like any other science fiction novel, this also creates a world of its own. Remember, Isaac Asimov famously said that a science fiction author doesn't just tell a story, he or she has to create the world, right? And unless we understand the logic of that word, we don't get the story. So in so many ways, a science fiction story is also didactic because it teaches us about the world in which it is engaging us. But this is unlike the other science fiction stories in 1984. It's not about space aliens. It's not even about rocket ships or, war. It is anticipating a world in which computer softwares will be dominant, and people who can connect with the computers directly will be the elite, people like Chase and others. And that so many human beings will use cybernetic enhancements, that people would no longer have to learn things. They could just add a new program to their mind, right? All of these things the book anticipates, which we have seen in the movie where the research is going about cybernetics, about studies of the brain. And it does that before we could imagine the World Wide Web or the internet. There is one scene as you read the book, as Chase is cutting through the firewalls of the system that he's attacking, where Gibson describes the landscape, the virtual landscape of the cybersphere. And the way he describes data, it's like a city, but it's a city in which there are towering data buildings, there are smaller buildings. That is one of the most beautiful literary descriptions of the cyberspace. And I highly recommend it, that you should read it. Now, the book has two sequels. There is Neuromancer, then there is the Count Zero, which builds on this story, but it's a separate story. And the third one is the Mona Lisa Overdrive. So there are three stories. There is one really brilliant female character whom you will meet in this story, who has artificial vision. She has installed digital eyes, and she's in all the three stories, and she's a warrior figure. Overall, Neuromancer, it is, I think, the novel that launched the cyberpunk genre. Okay, so cyberpunk, cybersphere, and the hacker culture come together to launch this genre of science fiction. And so if you're into, a story which is unusual, which moves at a fast pace, which keeps you engaged, but which tells you the story of a future in which cybernetics and the internet and the cybersphere has become supreme. It's a futuristic world. It's almost a dystopia, right? Cities have sprawls in which there are huge undergrounds. We enter the novel in the Shiba prefecture of Japan, and the sprawl, right? There are a lot of tragic things in the story as well. But by and large, it's the story of Chase being hired by an artificial intelligence who must infiltrate this fortress-like substation off-planet to retrieve certain kind of data. Okay, so that's generally my view of the Neuromancer. I hope this encourages you to read the novel and get it, and I hope it also encourages you to read Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive. Trust me, if you read all three of them, you will not regret it. I have taught this novel in my postmodernist fiction class, and you will see a lot of postmodernist tropes in it. And if you read it, let me know what you think. Did it, come up to your expectations? Were you expecting the kind of twists and turns? And how does someone read a novel that anticipates the internet and the cybersphere in 1984, now that we have been deeply steeped in the internet age, in the web and its possibilities? I would love to hear your views about that as well. That's all. I will be back with some other exciting book to talk about, and until then, please keep in mind that I'm in the process of moving, so I have not had much of a chance to record new videos. But as I settle down, I will start posting videos more frequently. Until then, as always, stay safe. Please take care of each other. And as always, I'll now see you next time. Until then, peace and love.